Good day, folks. This is Greg Judy at Green Pastures Farm. We just moved the mob into an evening paddock tonight, and this is probably the best grass that they've seen this spring as far as being more mature. We actually saw our first seed head on orchard grass right as we came into this paddock, and that's the first one I've seen. So when you get seed head, it was actually right emerging from what we call boot stage, where it looks like a lump inside the stem, and then it actually came out in the seed head. You could see it just barely. But it's funny, these calves, 98 there, that's the first calf heifer. She's got a beautiful calf right there, 117. No, it's 114. 102, he's hanging out there by that beautiful walnut tree. Somebody made the comment about walnuts the other day and how they're poisonous and all that. Folks, don't get caught up in all that. You need diversity. You don't want just one tree. You want walnuts. You got hickory. You got oak. Another guy said, "Well, they put down a lot of walnuts on the ground." So what? That's a cash crop. You can pick them up and sell them, or ignore them and let the squirrels have them. Squirrels need to eat too, and so for me, that tree that calf's standing right there by, oh my gosh, if you cut that and milled it, there's no limbs for the first 12 feet. That's a veneer. And then you get another log from there on up. If you wanted to, cash it out, that tree's probably worth, if you milled it in my mill, you could probably get, $800 or $900, maybe $1,000 for that one tree as milled, kiln dried lumber. So all this stuff about walnuts, man, I kind of like them walnuts. They call them a cash. It's a cash tree here in Missouri. We like walnut trees, and if I've got one growing, I plant them. If I've got one out in the field and I can protect it with a cage, I'll put a cage around it until it gets big enough that the cows won't break it off, and then it's good to go. And it's got a rough bark on it. The cows like rubbing on them. It's a pretty calf, man. Really beautiful calf. Good little heifer. She's got a nice little udder on her. That little heifer there, folks, she'll only weigh maybe 850 to 875. She's probably 850. By the time she gets mature, she'll be about a 950 pound cow, which is perfect. And the way you get cows like that is you got to use 1,000 to 1,200 pound bulls, not 2,200 pound bulls. Can't get a 1,000 pound cow using something that looks like a tank for your cider. It's just not going to work. Our Murray Grey cow, she calved, and she's half South Pole. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. And she's half Murray Grey, but she shows a lot more Murray Grey. And she had this beautiful little charcoal, blackish colored bull calf. I'm trying to find her before. Oh, I see it. I think. Yep. I'll go show you all Murray Grey's cow. She had one of the prettiest heifers in the herd last year, and she outdid herself again this year. She's just a wonderful cow. Look at that little buck. You think he's feeling his milk tonight? Yeah, it's a little bull calf. This is my favorite time of the year, folks. Every day we come to check our cows morning and night, there's new babies out here. We left one behind tonight with the mother, and she'll be caught up in the morning. We didn't put in a back fence. And these cattle are in some really nice grazing here tonight. 113 he's feeling his oats. He said, "What are you?" He's not really sure what I am. Anyway, I want to go show you Murray Grey's cow. Murray Grey cow's calf. I'm kind of watching where I'm walking here because there could be some morel mushrooms right here in all these leaves in this ditch. This is a perfect spot for them. I wouldn't mind having a mess of morels to fry up tonight for supper. We got to look on the side of this bank right here. Well, sometimes when you find one morel, there will be, 10, 15, 20. I think our record is like 200 we found in one spot. It was unreal. They were everywhere. You couldn't take a step without stepping on a mushroom. Well, that's pretty steep right there. I'm gonna go over here and get across. Murray gray cow's out here. She has got a crackerjack of a calf. Just born yesterday. He gets a hold of those teats and she's got the milk. My goodness, does she have the milk. There we go. I had a group of seniors and juniors here today from Truman State. And a professor brought them up and we did a farm tour walk this morning. A bunch of young ladies and young men, and kind of showed them what we were doing out here. It's kind of neat seeing the next generation of young people that are maybe making decisions about agriculture and the future of the United States, and just showed them a different way of running animals. You know, they don't need to be in a feedlot or, you know, locked up somewhere. Look at that cow. Man, is he a beaut? Whew. That may be the new 014. You remember last year we had 014 bull? Well, he could be the next one. He is a beautiful calf. He doesn't know what I am. He hasn't seen too many humans. Murray Gray, you did good, girl. You did real good. That is a beautiful calf. Oh, I gotta show you our new pond. This is the one that Johnny finished up in December, and it's full. We got that 3.5 inches of rain last week. Or actually, what is today? Today is Thursday. We had 3.5 inches of rain. Ooh, let me step on that wire. We've got it fenced off to keep the cattle out of here. See, we got all this fresh seed coming up. You can see it all there. That's Kentucky 31. And once I get my grass seed established, I'll come in here, probably February next year, and I'll frost seed 3 pounds of red clover over this whole watershed. So there'll be a tire tank down there by that white standpipe that's sticking up. This is the overflow right here. So the spillway, call these an earthen spillway. And look at the water out there. You can't see the standpipe, it's buried. There's a 6-foot standpipe out there in the middle of that pond with a cap on it, with 1/4-inch holes drilled in it, and you can't see it. I'm gonna see if I can see it if I get even with it. It should be right. Well, I'm right in line. I'm right in line with the pipe. I don't see it. That sucker's in some serious water. So what we'll do, we'll come in here and put a cedar. There's going to be about a 20-foot cedar put over there, one over there, one on that side. We'll put one right here on the dam, and possibly maybe 2 on the dam. It's wide enough. And those will be staked down to a steel post. And those 30-foot cedars, those are our brush piles for the small fish. Because this will be stocked with bluegill and channel cat. But I'm going to go ahead and get my fathead minnows. I usually put 5 pounds of fathead minnows in a pond. And 5 pounds, let me back up on that. I buy 5 pounds of them, you put a pound. I'm trying to think, there's 1,000 fathead minnows in a pound. Anyway, those darn things get to breeding, especially if you put cedars in there. They get in amongst those cedars and they just absolutely go nuts, breeding and populating. And you'll have 1 million of them in here in probably 2 months in the summer. Well, then you put your bluegill and your channel cat in. And then they have something to eat on, those small fathead minnows. And then the following year, we'll put the predator fish in here, which is the bass, the largemouth. We have largemouth bass. So this is going to make a whale of a fishing pond. And I built this for my landowner. This is a lease farm, but she's an awesome landowner. Her dad owned it, and she told me up front, she said, Greg, I know my dad was very happy having you graze this farm, and I think he'd roll over in his grave if you didn't have his cows grazing on his farm. And so I took that as a plus, that we're doing things right. And so I came in here and built this new pond for her. And she's a lot younger than I am. If I treat her right, maybe I'll have it my whole life. And it's just getting better. I mean, we're putting ponds where we need them. We're working on the fertility. We've done some soil samples. Where the soil is real acidic, we put down a little bit of lime. And it's coming. I mean, this farm's coming now. I'm excited. This old terrace that's built on here, this is built in the 40s, right after Marshall got back from World War II. I say 40s, it was 50s, because World War II, that would have been, well, it was over in like 1945, whatever it was, when the final fighting ended. But Marshall bought this farm right out of the war. And it's 160 acres. And at that time, you could get the GI Bill. I think he told me there was a loan there that he went and got because he was he went over and fought. And he was on a battleship. And he had some pretty hairy skirmishes over there, but he survived, and they got hit several times with kamikaze pilots and all kinds of things. And we can't comprehend something like that. But here's a young man that was grown up out here in this brush country. All he'd ever been in was trees and hills and hollers. The next thing you know, he's standing on a battleship in the harbor at San Francisco, getting ready to go over and the Japanese skirmish. That's where he was at. And he talked about the planes hitting the deck, trying to take out the engine rooms, and they'd go after the pilot, the crow nest, because that's where the captain was. The kamikaze pilots would target that crow's nest. And Marshall said it wasn't too bad. He had 3 squares a day. Look at that. 3 square meals a day, and he just kind of thought he'd better stay where he was at because he wasn't getting shot at too bad. That is a pretty little calf. Anyway, Marshall bought 8 cows, and he got a loan on this farm, and he paid it off, and this is where he lived the rest of his life, and he raised his family here. 160 acres. Oh, this is really coming around. There's a little bit of broom sedge on that fence line over there. And the reason it's in that fence line, there's no animal impact. When you put a fence up, the animals can't stomp on that area. That's where we see the broom sedge at. The heaviest part is right underneath that wire. So on a permanent fence, there's not too much you can do about that. But they're on about 5 acres here tonight. Again, we're just trying to take the tops of the plants. We're not going to graze it short. You go up on top where we moved them from tonight, and people look at that and go, my goodness, Greg, you could have left them here another half a day. I'm like, yeah, I could have, but then it wouldn't have grown back as quick. So we're into quick rotations here in the spring. The grasses are growing. We're starting to see some seed heads emerge. We need to get going. And the longer you leave your animals and make it chew it down shorter and shorter and shorter, your grass is getting ahead of you in the springtime, and it's going to get woody on you, too mature, and the animals are not going to do very well. I love that sound. All I can hear is rip, rip, rip. But it gives you a good feeling knowing the history of the land, and how much Marshall would appreciate what his farm looks like today if he was still alive. And Marshall lived a wonderful life. I mean, he lived to be 94 years old, and he lived, he never was, his health was at 100%. Clear up until almost the very end, he was just amazing. He's an amazing fellow. He really was. And I got a lot of Marshall stories. I'll just share one with you, then I'm going to end this. I asked him one day, I said, Marshall, I said, what's your secret to your good health? I said, you must drink that 8 glasses of water today that, you know, the government health agencies say we need to drink. He kind of looked at me and frowned and wrinkled his own nose up, and he goes, water? He said, I never could stand this stuff. I'm like, what? You don't drink any water? No. No, I said, never did care for it. He said, why would a man drink water? He said, there's nothing in it. I'm like, well, what do you do for moisture? You know, your body's got to have some kind of liquid. Well, he said, I wake up in the morning, my breakfast, he said, I'll have a cup of coffee. And then he said, at lunchtime, he said, when I make me up a meal for lunch, he said, I'll have me a soda pop. I just shook my head. You know, I couldn't argue with success. I mean, that guy was sharp. And I saw him at 88 years old. He could still run a chainsaw and split wood. I mean, he was an amazing specimen of a man. And he never developed any kind of Alzheimer's, dementia, nothing. I mean, his mind was sharp. So, I don't know. I'll share some more with y'all later on Marshall, but he was an amazing guy. I just feel so fortunate to have met him and been part of him being part of my life for a good while. Our families went way back. I actually used to haul hay as a young guy for Marshall's son, which was Eldon. That was back in the 70s, early 70s. And so I knew Marshall's family pretty much my whole life. But what an amazing guy. Every time I come out to Marshall's farm, I remember him. And it's just kind of neat. Anyway, folks, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. I got to go and enjoy these cows. This is why I do what I do. I want to go out here and enjoy the cows and the baby calves on this beautiful April 15th green grass and clover, and it's just beautiful. It's just a wonderful living. And I want to give a plug to my book. It did go out to the printer this week, and we'll be getting that back within 2 to 3 weeks. And that's when I'll actually put it up on the website. But you can go to our website, sign up on that email list, and you'll be notified when we get it ready to sell. So if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button all the way out. I'd really appreciate it. And also hit that like button and that bell signal. That'll give you an alert when I drop an email. Anyway, y'all have a good one, and we're going to see y'all down the road.